Okay, I think we're good to go. We're live now on YouTube. So let me share my screen with us. Then we push for the stars. Once you're able to see my screen, just let me know, okay? And then try muting your mics when you join, okay? Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Since you can see my screen, let's get started. All right, so of course, you know we're not supposed to have any class today. This is me personally trading, right? This is what I do every day, and it is a lot more way above what I have been teaching you guys, because most of the stuffs I'm going to be doing here are advanced. I'm not here to teach. I'm here for us to trade life practically. So my own is, let's get the signals and trade. You can be asking me questions why the class is going on. Teaching continues tomorrow, but this is me. I want to trade. It's like I want to do it live so that you understand what I go through every day before I take a trade. Some of the signals I drop. So you'll be hearing a lot of advanced knowledge or advanced information, and it is going to be powerful. All right. So in case you hear anything that is strange, of course it is normal, but the point is I am an advanced trader, and so it is totally okay for you to hear things that might tickle your knowledge base. All right. So you'll be hearing things like liquidity, you'll be hearing things like volume footprints, you would hear the time and price for those of you who have been joining the class. All right. So I will show you how I analyze trades. This is me now doing it live. Whatever you can pick. But the point is, I want to do it in such a way that when I am setting my own trade on my phone or on my device, whether a pending order or an instant execution. I'll be showing you how to set it. I know most of you already know how to set it, but if I'm buying, you're buying. If I'm setting a stop loss, you're setting a stop loss. If I'm setting a take profit, you're what? Setting a take profit, okay? So as the class goes on, try to follow through and then be asking questions because I will be replying a lot of questions. It's just a one-on-one live session. Okay, so for me, first things first, I go to where forexfactory.com, forex factory, just to know what is happening today. I want to see the news events and all that and all that.
Hello, please kindly mute your mic now.
All right, Forex Factory. So I am going to the calendar. All right, so click on calendar and then make sure your time matches the time you have on your laptop or your phone or whatever device you're using. So this is 2:09. This is not correct because it is using Canada's time. So I'm in Nigeria, right? I have to synchronize my time, match device to time. So once I click on match device, it naturally changes to what? Let's see. This is 10 minutes after 9. Those of you online, you can also confirm that the current time we have is what? 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes after 9. That said, the next thing I am going to do is what? Today is what? Tuesday. So today is Tuesday, and I'm going to be going through the pairs. Now, for Tuesday, you can notice that we had a high volatile news. What time? 5 a.m. All right, around 5 a.m. And then for today by 1:30 p.m., that is when the next news is going to come up on GBP, annual budget release. So by 1:30 p.m., if we are on a trade that is running on GBP, we would find a way around it to know what to do, basically, right? I would either be closing my trade if it's in profit. That's if it has not hit our take profit too, right? But if it has already hit our take profit, then fine. All right. So having said that, the next thing which is also important for me is, so for today, it is just GBP news by around 1:30 p.m. right? Those of you online, mute your mic so that if you don't mute your mic, I'll just remove you. I don't even have that time to get distracted because this is serious business. So if I notice your mic is constantly disturbing, I would take you out of the class. Then you can join with another device. So please, except when I tell you to talk, then you can talk. But this is serious business here. So just try muting your mics. Thank you. All right, so having gone through Forex Factory and then I have seen what is available today. Today is Tuesday, right? Yeah, so it's just GBP news by 1:30 p.m. So of course, we'll just have to be careful. But I don't, the news I usually consider as high impact news. If I go to my AI, for example, let me say, what are the highest impact news in trading that I should always look out for? So if I just ask ChatGPT, what are those highest? So NFP number one. So anytime you're on Forex Factory, for example, and the news is centered around NFP, just be very, very careful because it is very volatile. All right. It is very, very volatile. Secondly, one of those news that can be very, very crazy is the CPI because it has to do with inflation of different assets. Yeah, inflation. Okay, is the CPI very high impact news, especially on dollar pairs and USD pairs. Another very high impact news is what you'll be hearing from me today is really advanced. So just enjoy the class because it was one of those forefronts of trading and you would like it. Another thing is the US Federal Reserve interest rate decision. So that is the FRI. It's very high. The FOMC. It can be dangerous. Look at it here again. US retail trades, then GDP, gross domestic product, then PPI, and then so these are like top 10. I don't know if there is a comment section where I can drop this for you. These are like top 10 news that is always crazy. It's always crazy. Let's see if it works. Yeah, I think I can drop it on the comment section. Like you just have it for yourself. All right. Now, having seen that GBP the news is around 1 p.m. So let me start with, for me, when I trade, I usually use 1 hour or 15 minutes, any time frame I see opportunity. So currently on my chart, I'm having AUD but let me use your comments. Which pair should I start with first today? Any pair, just drop it. The first pair I see on the comment section, that's the pair I'm going to be analyzing today. All right, gold. I don't know what gold did to you people, Sha. Whatever covenant you guys have with gold. Bishop, Bishop, see that whatever covenant you guys have with gold is crazy. All right, so we are doing gold. After gold, I'll do USD then I'll move simultaneously. Okay. All right, and we'll also do some things on synthetic indices. That one, that asset gives a lot of money, sharp money. if I'm going on a date now, just go on synthetic indices to make some quick money. We'll do a lot. So just hang in, stay with me. All right. Okay. Now let's go to gold. Someone dropped gold. Which time frame do you want me to use in analyzing gold, young man? Person that mentioned gold. What time frame? What time frame? What time frame? Is 1 hour. Okay. Shegun. Oh, we'll do all of them. Let's start with 1 hour. I saw 1 hour, I saw 5 minutes. So for me, I like spontaneity in trading. So what I mean is I like doing things myself. So first things first, I can see a very clear high over here. Now, I may not be saying so much, but I'm doing a lot. All right, so this is a high and this is a low. Okay, so this is me now professionally doing an analysis. So this is another high. So what I see here is I'm seeing a very clear uptrend, and it would turn to a change of character when this low is broken, because at that point, I'm going to. So first things first, as a trader, I go to forexfactory.com. Secondly, I look at what market structure. So let me see if I can be atomizing them. Just a moment. Google Notes, Google Doc. So that I just have more like a blueprint I'm following. Google Doc. Rules of engagement 1, forexfactory.com. Forexfactory.com for news, events. Number 2,
You see? I'm going to collect
market
my power.
structure. I just want to know the what trend of the market. So I can see that gold is bullish. And then the next thing I'm going to be looking out for is I'm just going to be considering buying gold. But now, before I even think of buying gold, there are key things I usually look out for, right? I've been able to mark the highs and the lows, the major highs and the major lows for gold. But now I'm thinking of where I should enter a trade, isn't it? That's like the one of the most important parts. So for me, there is what I use in marking levels. So number 3, I look for valid POIs. Valid POIs. Now, valid POIs, this is what we call points of interest. So point of interest is the area that I am interested in buying. All right. And for me, I'm focusing on what's pending orders, right? Now, note, in case you don't know how to draw structures very neatly, you can use a tool called market structure. So if I put up this tool, for example, if I put it on, all right, so if I put up this tool, let me show you what it looks like about the script. Market structures, it tries to show you, are you saying the major break of structures, the change of characters? It shows you minor levels and major levels. All right, so let me put on all the levels. So I switched off the minor levels. I will be needing it for this analysis.
You see market, you see deliver attempt. I showed you yesterday. That one me and you read yesterday now.
Remember, the whole point of the class is so that we can I need to make some money today. Today is already Tuesday. So you could see over here, because this tool is currently on, you can see a change of character, a break of structure, whatever it is. Now, the next thing is what? POI. Where will I be setting my limit from? So for POIs, I like using the engulfing candles. Now, the engulfing candles are so powerful because the engulfing candles act as a good place for price retracement. So in case you don't know what an engulfing is, so if I just go here, I'm trying to avoid teaching, but I cannot help it. So I'm just going to take this. So what I mean is this: for an engulfing candlestick, it's like a lady that is pregnant. The child is inside the stomach. It engulfs the previous candle. So for a bullish engulfing, it's a case where you have a red candle like this. Sorry, let me use red. You have a red candle like this, and then you have an engulfing candle. So when you hear the word engulf, something that totally covers the previous, the close of the body. Let me repeat that statement. The close of the body. I already have everything designed for you, so just follow through with the class. So the close of the body, right? Let me change this. Okay. All right, so this is a bearish candle that closes up. We said a bullish candle closes down, a bearish candle closes up. So now we have a bullish engulfing. So in order of priority, when there is a bullish engulfing, I usually draw a zone there. Now, that zone is my point of interest. It's my what? Point of interest, because I am expecting that price is going to come back to this zone and move upward. All right. So if I want to take a buy trade, I usually look out for engulfing candles as what? POIs. Point of interest. That is, these are levels that I have interest in. Okay, like I said, these are advanced information, and it's expected that this is not, if I have to do this with you in KCP, some of you might not even understand what I'm saying. So this is me now taking my own personal trades, right? So that's why I decided to do it live with you. Okay, now
That's 600. So I'll give 500.
can you mute? Don't worry, just anybody disturbing or who isn't muting their mic, just type the person's name. I'm taking them out of the class. They can join in the spirit world. All right, so you have this as the point of interest, and it is expected that we look at these pending orders. But now here's the thing. Point of interest is just an idea. It is not where I might be taking the trade. So let's go back to our blueprint. Forex factory, market structure. So by market structure, it must be coming from a break of structure. So because I want to force myself to make sure that I am trading with the trend. right? So because I am trading with the trend, the plan is simple. I want to be right. I want to be in the right side of the market. Let's just keep it simple. Of course, I will still show you how to use change of character, right? Now, valid POI, this is what we call the point of interest. So number 4, it must be an engulfing candle for POIs. So bullish engulfing for buys and bearish engulfing for sales. Haven't said that. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is I have a tool that helps me mark engulfing. So this is like, let me just quickly show you what a bearish engulfing would look like. So a bearish engulfing, you already have it here, but let me just draw it for you. The bearish engulfing will look like something like this. Remember, the later is supposed to submerge the previous. So as long as the body of the candle is closed, there are different school of thoughts to how engulfing is. But as long as it is covering the body of the candle, then you're good to go. So you'd have situations like this. You could have situations like this. They are all engulfing candles, all right? It doesn't change the functionality as to how engulfing works. So having said that, let's move to the next thing. So this is gold on 1 hour, right? All right, so it's already a valid uptrend. Now, the next thing I look out for is inducement. Number 5. The next thing I look out for is inducement. So when I lay down these blueprints, when I'm scanning through pairs, I may not be talking anymore. The reason I'm just trying to share my blueprints with you is because I am doing it live, and since it is the first pair that I am using, then that's in short, that basically that's the reason, so that you understand, at least have an idea as to what I'm doing. So the next thing I look out for is inducement. Now, what is inducement? Inducement are traps positioned by market makers to lure you into entering from those levels. So to lure you into entering from those levels. So now inducements, when you hear the word inducement, induce, it's like while I was teaching in class the other day for the paid students, somebody said inducement is seduction. So it is that beautiful lady you see on the road, and instead of you to focus while driving, you just want to park and say, hello, young lady. Now she has induced you, she has gotten your attention. And so what or where can you spot inducements? Inducements can be spotted on those same levels you usually see as key levels. This is where things starts getting interesting, because these levels which you see me putting over here, for example, there are levels where everybody expects that, okay, if the market gets here, it should move up. If the market gets here, it should move up. If the market gets here, it should move more. But in reality, life is not like that, my people. So you have something like this. Let me show you what really happens in the market. And I know, yeah, it's going to come as a shocker. So you have an uptrend, a break of structure, everything is looking good, and then this is a level where you intend that the market comes and move up, right? Nothing, it will not happen like that. You would be leaked. By leaking, I mean the market is going to take you out, because this same place you consider as your POI for setting your entry is what was calling your attention. And so you have this scenario over and over. Why did the market hit my stop loss and then ended up moving in my direction? Sir, why didn't it use here? Why did it use here? Right? So that is what inducement feels like. So what do we do? How do we solve this problem? All right. So it's simple. You don't really need to kill yourself about it. Topi, I think I answered that. All right, so you don't need to kill yourself about it. So here's the thing. Now, what is that tool that helps me plot my POI? Already we have established that gold is what? In an uptrend. Now, let me show you maybe small examples of inducement. Inducement in trading. Let me see if, all right, so I think this was perfectly highlighted. Copy image. All right, so you can see this, right? You have a clear break of structure. And then, all of a sudden, this is a key level which you expect that the market should respect. This level, right? Okay, let's it again. So this the level you expect the market should respect. What happened? Market took you out, hit your stop loss, and then went in your direction. So, and please note, this is a what? Break of structure. I mean, why should it hurt you? Why? It's not fair. All right, so let's go because I need to start thinking of taking trades now. All right, so I need something that plots this engulfing for me. So we have the multi-time frame order block. So why I like this too is because it gives me valid POIs. I can just go to the input and select the 4-hour POI on time frame 2. It will show me the POI on the chart I am using. And then it will also show me the POI on a higher time frame. So I have two working in my favor. So this is gold on 1 hour. You can see 4-hour POI. So if I go to 4-hour, for example, you will notice it is an engulfing. It's what? An engulfing. Are you seeing this? Engulfing. All right, because it totally engulfs the previous candle. Okay, so back to my 1 hour. So that because if I switch to 1 hour, you would see the, let me mark it for you. We went to 4 hour to see if it is really what it is. If I go back to 1 hour, are you seeing that 4-hour engulfing is still available on our 1 hour? Now, look at this over here. You would see 4 hour. So if I click on this and then I go to the 4-hour time frame, that's why you necessarily do not have to even go to different time frames. You can stay on one time frame and you're seeing everything. Is this not a bearish engulfing? Because it totally engulfs this. The body and the close of this candle was engulfed by this. This is the previous candle, which is engulfed by this. So this is the 4-hour engulfing. And even if you want to be using it as a stand alone, you would be making money, right? Even if you say you want to use it as a standalone tool, you will be making money. But yeah, this is it. So if we go back to the 1 hour time frame, you can see how price got into the 4-hour engulfing and boom, it is selling. So we're expecting price to come into this 1 hour, sorry, this 4-hour engulfing over here. All right. We're on 1 hour time frame. So we're expecting gold. So for today, where is my POI or where is my point of interest? This 4-hour, I say 4 hour, yeah, this 4-hour POI, because price has not tapped it. So by price tapping, that brings me to the next information. Your POI must be unmitigated. it must be fresh. By fresh, it means price have not used it. All right. So it must be what? Fresh. Price should not have entered. For example, this POI, which you see here, if I zoom in closely, I'm coming, guys. All right. So now, if you look at this POI that is here, it is mitigated. So mitigated is something that has been used. For example, let me just make it simple. So this is, you have two POIs here. You have this POI, and you have this
Only 3
POI,
copies now, B.
and you have this POI. Now, this POI, which is here, is mitigated. Mitigated POI. So mitigated is price has made use of this zone. This one here is what? Failed
Oh, yeah.
mitigated POI. That is price have made use of this zone, but it failed. In the sense that we wanted a situation where he just entered it and respected it, but that was not what happened. It entered it, broke through. All right. And then we have this. At this point, this is called what?
You guys should mute your mic now. You guys should mute your mic.
Mitigated POI. Please note, this POI is what? Our engulfing levels. Simple. This POI is what? Our engulfing levels. So it's a case where the market gets to here. The moment it enters it, it has now been what? Mitigated. But if price even goes close to it, as long as it is not touched or it is not used, it is what? Unmitigated.
Yes. Just go to the paper analysis option and submit the assignment first.
All right, so
No.
okay, so let me see. David,
Can something be
Ole,
done about this woman?
I just got
Stopping this
notification
lecture.
that the noise is too much.
Please,
So
can they stop making a
let me
noise?
make
Let's hear.
I want collect small now.
admin.
So man, no collect. Come on. I open the bedroom.
How do you open? How do you open? I mean, so far, your class, I've only given you.
I got this keep here now. Don't get this. But it's already there. That one will change compression. Eh?
Let me just for the last time mute everybody. All right. Adebayo, Annie, Boma, you guys have been reported. One more, because I mean it will not be fair if I kick you guys out. All right. These informations are very important. If I want you to pay for it, you would not even pay $1,000 to have it. So this is the last time. The moment I get a complaint, I will kick you out of the class, right? Because I don't expect that you join a Zoom class that is entirely free to help you and you're disturbing others. It makes no sense. So if you don't know how to use your device, I think that's the basics you should even start from before even trying to learn trading. All right, it is not fair that you're in a class, instead of you to pay attention, you unmute your mic and you're disturbing every other person. So one more, you will be removed and you would have to use another device to join. Thank you. All right, so these are what unmitigated what POI. So unmitigated means it has not been used. Why is this important? Sometimes when a POI is used, the moment price tries to come back to that POI, of course it can be respected. It is the market, so anything can happen. But if it is used, it means that for safety purpose, it is best avoided. All right? Because what happens in that situation is people, it's more like I have experienced a certain level before. Why should I use it again? So if a POI has been used for the first time, the moment price is coming back to that POI, it is hard to be respected. Of course, you would see cases where a POI is used back to back. It happens. But for safety purposes, the POI,
And this
but for
one
safety
person be
purposes, the
handled.
POI that is effective should be the one that is what? Fresh. All right. All right. So just a moment. Let me remove.
Hello, good morning. More you pray, the more they come. Good morning. I don't think I can marry. Don't you pray to God, I say.
Class. All right. So let's continue. Okay. So now let's go to the chart. You see this level here, it is what? Mitigated. It has been used. So even if gold comes to this level again, that is this POI, all right? I would find it very hard to use it. Now, the next thing is, so let's go to our blueprint. Your POI must be what? Unmitigated. It must be fresh. Price have not used it before. Secondly, or most importantly, number 7, there must be an inducement. This is where things start getting interesting. Before the POI. God will help us into this class, because if you can stick to these rules, your entries will be so precise and so effective. Now, there must be an inducement. So what is an inducement, right? We have explained that. Let's assume this is your This is your POI. Let's call it unmitigated POI. Unmitigated POI. Let's assume this is your unmitigated POI. Notice where you have this break of structure over here, where you have this break of structure, where you have this break of structure, you have certain key levels. Now, key levels is different from POI. Key levels, I'm just referring to so you have certain key levels, right? Different supports. This is your break of structure, which is, of course, your POS, isn't it? Now, here's where it starts getting interesting. This is your POI, which is your FVG unmitigated. Now, on a normal day, a lot of traders would be setting their what pending orders here. But because this level is so obvious, it is inducing you. It is telling you that use me. All right. But now that you understand what a key level is, you are expected to avoid this level. Now, if a POI doesn't have an inducement, also avoid it, and I'll explain what that means. So this is your POI. Let's assume our engulfing candle is here, right? This is our engulfing candle. Let's say our bullish engulfing. So this your bullish engulfing, right? This zone is really valid. Why? Because there was an inducement. Inducement means the market has killed those they want to kill. And then the moment it comes to this fresh, remember, fresh means at no point did price get to your POI. Everything stayed above your POI. So if the market comes into, it means that they have taken out all the traders that did set their what? Sell limits. Sorry, their buy limit at this point, and then market comes in and moves up because it is fresh. Now, let's go to the main thing. So we have this fresh POI here. How do you even know if there is an inducement before your POI? You can use the concept of fractals. Using the concept of fractals. So fractals are tiny, or let me say minor levels that are available in the chart that sometimes your eyes cannot spot. For example, if I tell you that there is an inducement here, if your eyes are not able to spot it, you wouldn't know. How is this an inducement for? So let's go, let me show you. This on 1 hour. Now, I am pointing this tiny level over here. Let me zoom in very close. This levels over here, that is this level over here, as what? Inducement. But how did I discover, or how do I know? That's because if I go down to 15 minutes, you would obviously see it as a level. Now, if I go back to, let's say, 5 minutes, you would also notice it is so obvious. It is more like an obvious support just available. It's just that looking at it on a 1 hour time frame, it is looking enclosed. It is looking clustered together. All right. So this is series of inducements available. Remember, this is our what? 4-hour POI. A lot of traders have stacked what? Pending orders at this point, expecting that if gold comes to this level, it is going to want to move upward, isn't it? Now, because this level exists as a level where people expect, what would happen is the market is going to come downward, all right? Come downward and move up because they need to sweep what? Liquidity. So liquidity, it's a concept whereby people were taken out of the market. The market makers have manipulated your trades out. So the moment you are out of the market, they have taken liquidity. Liquidity, in other words, in simple terms, is what? Money. A lot of persons have placed 100 lots, 1 lot, your 0.01 would probably be here. But this is where they are what? Aiming. Number one, it is fresh. Number two, there was a trap before your POI. All right, so back to our blueprint. Your POI must be unmitigated. It must be fresh. Price have not what? Use it, or let's use the word price must not. So price must not use it. So meaning it must be fresh. There must be an inducement before the POI. All right. So there must be an inducement before the POI. So let's go back to our 1 hour time frame. Please note, I did not do any multi-time frame analysis here, okay? I just stayed on one time frame. Now, remember I told you that if there is no inducement before the POI, do not enter the trade. You would see cases like this. For example, if you look at this, there was no inducement. Price just came into the POI and moved. But these are not high probability setups. These are not what? High probability setups. High probability setups are those setups whereby price taps into the inducement, takes out liquidity, gets into the POI and moves. So because there was no inducement, we needed to see what? Something like this. So by something like this, I mean, there must be a level here that price must have taken out and then come back here and then move downwards, just the way we have this level that price must take out, come in here and then move upward. So is gold currently meeting our criteria? Yes. Now we are not done. The next thing that must also be available is what? Liquidity sweep. Now, let me see if liquidity sweep. Let's see if there is any picture. Okay, so I have something here. Let me see. I'm looking for. I'm looking for a buy example. Okay, perfect. So I've seen what I'm looking for. Now, this is what I want to show you. So by liquidity sweep, it means that the market must take out a previous level. Now, that level which you're considering as your POI must be taken out. So let me, this one is not clear enough. Let me see. I'm looking for buy examples. Aha, this is what I'm looking for. Okay. So your POI must have this. See, like I told you guys, this is advanced. If your POI does not have this liquidity sweep, it is not a high probability setup. For example, look at what is happening currently on gold. Let me go to the 1 hour. This level, this POI, which you see here, took out what? A previous liquidity. So by liquidity sweep, it took out a previous high. For a sell, it must take out a what? Previous high. And then for a buy, it must take out a previous low. So let me say liquidity sweep. For a buy POI, it must take out a previous high. Sorry, for a buy POI, it must take out a previous low. And then for a sell POI, it must take out a previous high. All right, so for a buy POI, it must what? Take out a previous high, structural sweep. There is what we call structural sweep and liquidity sweep, and I will explain that. So structural sweep is when the market breaks out a previous high or a previous low with a body. While liquidity sweep is when the market takes out a previous high or a previous low with a wick. Now, let me explain what that means. In this case, it was a body that took out what? A previous high. If you look at this, it was a what? A body that took out the previous what? High. Now, this POI which exists had no what? Inducement. However, it had what? A liquidity sweep, because a previous high is taken. Now, let's look at this place where we intend to buy from. It doesn't have a previous low taken. For example, where is the previous low? This is the previous low. And so, even if the market comes to this level, it is no longer a high probability setup. Why? Because it did not sweep any previous low. Let me show you a clear example of a previous high that was taken. Oh, sorry, a previous low that was taken. Let me show you an example of that. I think I have one example here. Okay, now everybody look at this. This is USD JPY on 1 hour time frame. Now, notice this is a 4-hour POI. So let me increase this a little. This is a what? 4-hour POI. At some point, I said I was just going to do my analysis, and I'm teaching. I'll soon end the class. This is a what? 4-hour POI. Now, if I go to 4-hour, you would notice that this POI is there. Yeah, so this is it. Are you seeing? If I take away this hour box, you would see this engulfing. Are you seeing this engulfing? And then are you seeing the candle behind it, sir? So this is a what? 4-hour POI. So let's go back to our 1 hour time frame. Now, did this 4-hour POI take out any structural liquidity? Yes. So let's go to our blueprints. We say for a buy POI, it must take out a previous low. Now, for a buy POI, what do we have here? This is a previous low. These are all previous lows available. So we have this low. Sorry. And we have this low. All right, so since this is the previous low, it was broken by what? A body. It was broken by what? A body. Now, because it was broken by a body, this POI is valid. Now, was there an inducement in this POI? Yes. So we have this inducement. So inducement available, POI, structural liquidity sweep. Now, there is another important one which must be available. Number 10, the engulfing must also have a liquidity sweep. Remember, the first one we looked at was what? Structural liquidity. And by structural liquidity, it's a case where for a sell, price takes outwards a previous high. For a buy, price takes outwards a previous low. Now, this is what? Structural liquidity. But we have sweep liquidity. Sweep liquidity is when the engulfing sweeps the previous candle by a wick. So the engulfing must have a liquidity sweep where the engulfing sweeps the previous candle by a wick. Now, I know some of you may want to ask in the future that all this is Umore is still disturbing. Let me believe the person is not disturbing. All this information, why is it important? That's because these are like institutional approaches. Institutional approaches to getting precise as we speak. This is the same thing I did on synthetics this morning. And I made so much money. When I say so much money, a lot of money. But you can imagine the process behind this. I would share it on the group so that I'll just drop a chat image. You would just notice. I used my phone to do this. So let me just, if for those of you on the WhatsApp group, you would see engulfing, inducement, sweep. I'm about dropping the image, all right? So we have engulfing. E is for engulfing. I is for inducement. Sweep will be used for S. And let me just drop it. So if you check the WhatsApp group, you would notice almost all the criteria are met. KCP third, KCP. So if you just go through WhatsApp, you would notice there was what? The POI, which is the what? Engulfing. There was the inducement. There was the sweep. And there was money. Now, the engulfing, beyond sweeping what previous structure, it also must sweep previous candle because not all engulfing is a valid POI. Yes. So if I go to the 4-hour and then I come to this point, let's go back to that gold. Let me just go up a little. Okay. Now, if I go to 1 hour on gold, if I take this away, we only had what? Structural sweep. We didn't have what? A body sweep. So let me show you an example of the type of engulfing I'm referring to. Good. Now look at this. Are you seeing this engulfing over here? This engulfing swept the previous candle. So let me zoom in close. This is an engulfing that what swept the previous. Are you seeing? This is what we call a sweep of what? Liquidity. A weak sweep. That is the candle week swept the previous. But now here's the biggest question. Beyond sweeping this week, it should also sweep the low. Are you seeing this low? It did not sweep it. And that's the problem. Every engulfing POI must both sweep a previous high and sweep a. If you look at the chart, the example I sent on the group, the engulfing took a previous structure, and that same engulfing took out the previous candle. This is more like a double confirmation. Let me see if there are examples like that. Okay, I think I have something like this. Yes, so this is perfect. Now, take a look at this. A previous low, which is this, has been swept. Now, that same previous candle where the engulfing is coming from is also sweep. So we call it the double sweep structure. This is because over the years, these POIs, anytime price taps it, is money. The reason I'm taking my time to explain this is because this is what I do for fun. And this is you learning it. Of course, there are still a lot more advanced information. That is where we'll start talking about timing. What time should you now enter? Because for timing, it has to do with accumulation, manipulation, and distribution. But I cannot be talking about that now. And then the last thing is what we start looking at, what? Volume footprint. Now let's go to our gold and then let's finish because I need us to take some live trade. The engulfing must have a liquidity sweep. And finally, let me just stop here. If there are other informations that must be there, there must be a fair value gap. After the inducement, before the POI. So a fair value gap, let me show you for those of you who don't know what a fair value gap is. Fair value gap. It's like it's the space between three successful candles. All right. So let me use this. Let's go back to our gold. So once we are done with this analysis, I wouldn't be coming back to these rules anymore. So when three candles are placed side by side or three consecutive candles exist, and the wick of the first and third candle, they are not touching each other. So what I mean is this is the wick of the first candle, and this is the wick of the second candle. Notice the big space in between them. As long as this candle wick and this candle wick, they are not touching each other. The space in between two wicks untouched is what? A fair value gap. So this is the wick, right? And this is the wick. Notice the big space in between them. This is the wick and this is the wick. Notice the big space in between them. But on the contrary, if there is a wick and there is a wick like this, there would be no FVG. Why? There is no space. Anytime there is a wick and there is a wick and they both touch each other, there will be what? No FVG. So that you don't think too much about it. There are a lot of tools on TradingView that can show you what? FVG. All right. So let's now go to control. Looking at gold, I'll now start properly. We have an FVG here. If you look at this, there is an FVG here. Would spot it because the 2 weeks, this week over here and this week over here, they are not touching each other. So that space is there. If you want me to also show you, I can put a tool known as FVG so that you can also see that it prints it out for me. So let me just search for FVG. FVG imbalance. All right, notice, are you seeing that FVG here? It's a blue zone. Yeah, so the FVGs are available before the POI. Remember, this POI is fresh. But now the problem with this POI is that it did not sweep structure. Everything is complete except for the fact that it did not take a previous low. So what I do is, this is me looking at 1 hour. Let me scan through all the pairs on 1 hour. If there are sweet pending orders we could use. So I'm not teaching anymore. I'm just doing my thing as a trader. So this is me scanning. If I see an opportunity, I'll tell you. I'm on 1 hour time frame. So I'm scanning. Let me hide the FVG for now so that I am just looking at just the POIs. All these ones have been used. Are you seeing a lot? Now, so we have a POI here, but it did not sweep any previous high. So I'm not considering this. This one has been used. Shit. Okay. This was an inducement. But this one also did not sweep any previous high. I'm also looking at the ones here. This one sweeps a previous low. Is there an FVG here? So let me check. Yes, are you seeing there is an FVG before this level? Okay, so let me confirm a few more things. Sometimes I just go back to some of the trades I've taken just to be sure that all the rules are properly met. Okay, then the next thing is there inducement? So I told you about fractals, right? Just a moment. There is something that I use in helping me spot fractals effectively. I will explain what I mean by spot fractals effectively. Kept the two here, so. All right, I think I've seen it. I just some of those tools, I usually keep them. Let me see. So this, I don't like this one because it is too big. If you notice the chart I sent on the group, you would notice I have fractals. So, all right. So fractals helps me spot where inducements are. Fractals trailing. What is the name over here? See, Williams trailing stop. So I think that's the name. Williams trailing. trading. Okay, so let me just put it on. All right, I need it to be black. Let me work on the settings just a moment. I am not interested in all those. So the whites, I'm going to change the whites to what? Black. That's just what I need. I just need the fractals. I don't need any of these things here. Okay. Now, this helps me spot. So, in essence, of course, we Nigerians were smart. In essence, if here, for example, is my POI, right? Because a fractal is before the POI, I just have to mark this level as what? My inducements. Meaning that a lot of persons have placed orders here. For example, if you look at this level over here, this is a POI, isn't it? Because it's an engulfing. But notice the inducements. These are all inducements. And then we have retraced inducement. Maybe in the next class, I'll explain all these structural inducements. We call them engineered liquidity. But the point is, this is a POI, for example, but as long as they were fractals. And so here's the thing. Look at this instruction over here. There must be a fair value gap after the inducement, before the POI. Let's do it again. There must be a fair value gap after the inducement. So after the inducement, we had the what? Fair value gap. So I'm just going to use probably blue. Okay. Now, this is a fair value gap after the inducement, before the POI. So, inducement fair value gap and POI. So we have inducement, we have fair value gap, and we have what? POI. Having said that, this now becomes a what? Valid POI. But it is having not all the rules complete because it did not sweep a previous one. Now, for today's entry, for example, do you know the POI that is valid? This level, because there is inducement. We have inducement here. At least this is almost 90%. We have inducement here. We have structure sweep. But remember, I told you it must be with a body, isn't it? So at the end of the day, this one is just a liquidity sweep, not really a structure bodied sweep, all right? So is there a fair value gap? Yes, so we have a fair value gap. So we have what? Inducement, fair value gap, POI, structural sweep, and then it's now a case of if GBP, JPY comes here, we are looking at buying. So because it is not a body sweep, I am still going to risk, if I have to risk 2% on this trade, I am going to be risking what? Just 1% because it is not a body that sweeps here. All right. So, and the engulfing is not also. So look at this. If I zoom in very close, if I remove drawings, now look at this POI. Let me hide the fractals. Look at this POI. Remember, this is a POI, right? This is the engulfing. Notice this engulfing swept the previous candle, but it is not the same. Look at this particular engulfing, which you see here, swept the previous candle, but this particular engulfing did not sweep. However, we are just having a sweep of the previous structure, which is not really what we want. What we want is a situation whereby this engulfing, it's a case where this engulfing is like this, sweeping this, and also sweeping this. At that point, it is more than valid. Even I can decide to risk 5% here because it is extremely valid. So, but we'll still take it and risk what? 2%. So how do I now set my entry? Where is that POI again? So this is the POI, right? And then I'm setting my long position here. So this is a pending buy limit. So I'm targeting the next key level, the 4-hour POI. So if you notice, it's a 1:5. Now, where should I put my stop loss? Remember, I taught you the concept of ATR yesterday. ATR. So on GBP/JPY 34.6, right? The ATR for the last 14 candles is around 34.6 pips. So my stop loss is what? 34.6 times 1.5. 34.6 times 1.5. So my stop loss will be what? 51.9 pips. All right, I almost got it. So let me change this to 519 stop loss. All right, so what am I doing next? For my account size, where is that FX verify? So that nobody asks me, sir, we are not doing practical. That one, I'll just send you back to the village. FX verify. So what pair are we trading? Let's look at that pair again. GBP, JPY. So what is the entry price? 208.437. So GBP, JPY, right? $208.437. Stop loss 207.916. 207.916. So what is my account balance? All right, so $750. That's not a very bad. Your own, I don't know your account size, so you are doing your own calculation as I'm doing my own. So $750. If you like, go and use 3 lots like me. You're on your own. Oh. So 2 points. So I'm trying to get this exact amount because it's the lot size I'm going to be using. Okay. I think I'm very close. 2.3. 757. 750. So I'll be using 2.2 lot size. I don't want it to go above that 750. So yeah, I think this is fine. So our first entry, pending order, GBP JPY. Based on, at least we had a situation whereby we'll just say 60% of the conditions were met, right? So buy limits on BBP JPY. Entry at what? So on your MetaTrader 4 or MetaTrader 5, you're clicking on what? Buy limits, not instant execution after you have discovered your lot size. So for me, 1% of $75,000 is what? $750. And FX Verifier has been able to tell me what lot size I am supposed to use in order to reach what? $724 or less than 700 and the anticipated $50. Okay. Entry at this stop loss. What is our stop loss? Profits ads. So on your own MT5, how do you now set your own pending order? It's simple. You need to know the lot size. What is your account balance? It's your equity, $100, $200, $300, $400, $500. You go to Google, or since you guys already understand percentage, what is 1%? Remember, we are using 1% in case this trade doesn't go well. It's just only 1% that goes out of my account. Do you understand? What is 1% of your own capital? When you have discovered your own 1%, you then go to FX Verify, because on your MetaTrader 4, if you like, go and use 2.2 lot size. The moment you even the trade activates on the $100, it's gone. So you have to, for example, let's say if your account balance is what, $100, let's say 1% of $100, $100 is what is $1. You see, so you would also know if you can even take this trade. So let's go to 0.01 lot size. On a 0.01, it is already $3. So it means that if your account balance is $100, you cannot trade. That's why at some point, good deposit is needed. Not because you cannot trade $100, but there are certain entries you cannot take because the stop loss does not favor your account balance. Remember, in our money management, you must be risking 1% per trade so that you can consistently track your what? Profitability. If you risk 1% today, 2% tomorrow, 20% next tomorrow, at the end of the day, you're just deceiving yourself because you cannot be profit. There's no hope for you in trading. If your risk is not defined, just forget it. It's better you go and open a boutique and you're making money. But if you really want to do the right thing, then if the pair does not favor your risk management, ignore it. Wait for a fresh opportunity. All right, so this is serious business. This is not me trying to smile today, because this is the hard part of trading. You do your analysis. This is us doing proper technical analysis. All right. Of course, there are still a lot of advanced things. That's why when you come into the mentorship program, you would be getting all those information. So you can now see that even with your $100, this trade that is so effective, you cannot take it. Do you understand? So let's look for other opportunities. So I won't be doing much talking. I'll just be scanning. So on your MetaTrader 5, you go to your GBP JPY, right? Who is this person? Ungo Kingsley, why are you drawing on the screen? All right, so try not to write on the screen again. Xiaomi, I just finished one. You are drawing your own. All right, so this is the pending order. So on your MT4 or your MT5, I've already given you everything. So what you can just do, your own is to just know your lot size, right? So if your account balance, let's say your account size is $500, let me assume. I think if you have $500, you can actually, if you want to reach 1% too. So 1%, so 0.01 is what? 3.29. Let's say 0.02. 0.02 will be what? 6.59. So it's just better you use what? 0.01. All right. So we are done with one. I'm just scanning through different pairs. So my POI, let me put it on so that I can see what is happening. So these ones are already mitigated. These ones are unmitigated. So when we see unmitigated ones, we start looking at, when we see unmitigated, we start looking at the conditions. This is fresh. There's an inducement. All right, so we have these inducements because if you put on fractals, for example, notice that I'm definitely certain that fractals would definitely let me switch this up. Okay. All right, so you would notice this fractal, all right, before the POI. So this fractal is available before the POI. So we have inducement available. Good. Now, this engulfing, which has already been marked, is it fresh? Yes, it is fresh. The next thing is it sweeping any previous fractal? No. However, the engulfing swept its previous candle. So this is having everything confirmed except for one thing. It is not sweeping what? A previous structure. So a previous structure it's like the other one we had. If you look at this, it is sweeping a previous fractal structure. But in this case, where the POI is, it is not sweeping any previous structure. And that's the problem. So we wouldn't consider it. It is better it sweeps a previous structure and then this is not available. We can do another 1% risk than for it to not sweep at all. And it is so, but I'm still going to be scanning. Let's see if we can see a complete A setup. That one I will actually risk 10% because I need money. All right. So let's see. A lot of, I wish we started early, would have made so much money today. Okay, if you look at this one, right? Although this is not an engulfing, but this is almost something similar to what I need. Structure sweep, inducement, POI. Are you seeing this? And what do we have here? Magic. All right, let's just scan. Let's scan. Okay. So we have this already being mitigated. Sometimes I have to go back as far as possible, but let's see. We have this POI, this POI. Okay, I think we have something here. If I put on my fractal, yes. So this POI is looking very good. Very, very good. So we have what? Structure sweep. Because the body of the candle broke what? Previous structure. We have what? Inducement. Do we have a fair value gap? Oh, shit. There is no fair value gap. So let's confirm. Let me just put it. You see that the fair value gap has been mitigated. If not, this would have been a very sweet entry for us. Because this POI is very, very interesting to use. All right, it's swept structure, inducement, but the fair value gap has been mitigated. So there is no fair value gap. All right, so I'm just going to skip that. So you see, trading is actually fun. It's so fun. It's not something you need to think too much. It's not something you need to stress yourself so much. You just have to keep showing up. You just have to keep doing the right thing. We'll soon finish the live session. So let me scan. So we have this. But this didn't sweep any structure, You see the ones that swept structure. Are you seeing how price respected them? For example, look at this engulfing over here, right? Sweep of structure. Fair value gap available. However, there was no inducement, but we had a structural inducement. I will explain this one maybe in the next live session. And then what is happening? Price just respects it. All right. So this one has no structural sweep. That's why I'm not really considering. But of course, funny enough, they can be respected. That's the crazy part of all these things. But we want to work with high probability setups only. For example, just take a look at this. You had what? Inducement. I think this one is very good. You had structural sweep. Perfect. You have fair value gap, which was widely available here. And then you can see how perfect this one is. So it's a case where if we started yesterday, we would have entered this trade, right? Clean setup. inducement, fair value gap, structural sweep, everything. You have a break of structure. I haven't forgot. Remember, we said from the beginning of the class that your break of structure must be readily available. So I'm just scanning through. I won't be saying much anymore. Just scanning through. I might end up using 15 minutes if I don't see anything on 1 hour. So 17.7 times 1.5, 25.65. So we have something good here. Sweep, fair value gap, I confirmed. Let's see. There is a fair value gap, inducement, fair value gap, sweep. I will be taking this trade. Although the engulfing did not sweep the previous one, but since this is close to 90%, I'm also doing a 1% on this. So sell limit on Euro card. So entry at where? Remember, my risk is $750 per trade. So Yeah, so I'm using 4 lots on this trade. No, I'm not using Ichimoku. Those of you saying the time, there was no class expected to be today. You understand? This is me doing my trading thing, and then I said, come and join me and get any information you can steal from this. I was not even supposed to teach, but if you notice, I've been using style to teach just because we love you guys. On a normal day, I was just supposed to show you, okay, enter this trade, do that, do this, and we are done. So it's not for teaching. It's advanced. There are still a lot of things I'm trying not to say so that you don't get so confused, even if we are having it as a streaming. But of course, this is very important because it will open your understanding to a lot of things. So I'm looking at more pending orders. Like, I don't want to take more than 5 trades per day. It's just that this 1 hour, why I don't like 1 hour, before my orders get activated, I might sleep. So I like 15 minutes a lot so that sharp I've made the money. But since you guys suggested 1 hour, then it's fine. 1 hour is still good. It's not bad. All these trades, they have been used since yesterday. This one, fresh, but they didn't sweep structure. I just need the ones that sweep structures. This one, I think I like this one. Okay, but your broker doesn't offer this USD Singapore dollar. And then back to gold. The reason we are not taking this gold trade is because of, let me go to 15 minutes. We have scanned through the pairs on 1 hour. It's just only 2 opportunities we saw. So I know I'll see a lot of opportunities on 15 minutes, but let's see. Aha. So see what I'm saying, right? Are you seeing this? This is GBP USD. Mad engulfing. Is there an FVG? I doubt. The FVG has been mitigated. Shit. This would have been a very sniper entry. Would have looked at reselling from this zone. But it's okay. There will be more. There was no FVG in this one, so. This one didn't sweep. I thought there was of course there is a structure here which Fractal didn't provide, but I'll just keep an eye on AUD USD at this POI. In case anything, I would definitely drop it. I'll just keep an eye, but there is inducement, there is fair value gap. Oh, well, yeah, I think we could still use this fair value gap, even if it's gated. Though I like fresh ones, but I'll just keep an eye on this. We have missed an amazing trade this morning. Inducements, this guy. Well, it's fine. We'll stay. Hopefully, the ones we have set. Aha, this is almost perfect to what I want. So we have here USD CHF, inducement, fresh. Let me see if there's a fair value gap. It has been used, but notwithstanding, I will also keep an eye on. So I'm keeping an eye on AUD USD. I'm also keeping an eye on USD CHF. Okay. And let me see. Is there any inducements for AUD JPY? Okay, we have series of inducements. Is there any fair value gap? Okay. We have, okay. I think we have something very close. Something very close. I'm going to give this as an instant execution. I want to see price retrace at this POI. I like this one. There is a fresh fair value gap. So AUD JPY. Let me see the market structure behind this. So a major break of structure. Okay. So inducements, we also have a structural body sweep here, which is good for us. We are almost close to having perfection. If this engulfing swept this previous one, this would have been perfection, because check this out. You have a fair value gap unmitigated. So this is looking like a very high probability for me. I want price to enter it. I can use a pending order, but considering I'm using 15 minutes time frame, it's still a bit fast, but I would want price to enter this POI, and then let's see what happens. So that being said, I have 3 pairs we are looking out for. And then we have given out 2 pending orders. Just set it on your account, and hopefully we should make good money from those trades. But we'll be doing this more often. And just a moment. Ebony, you said among the 10 rules of engagement to trade you showed us today, what are the minimum one you can see and make good trade with? Sweep, there must be FVG. You don't joke with that, right? Because I will explain the concept behind why there must be an FVG. Number 2, there must be a break of structure. You want to be trading in the trend. Number 3, there must be structural sweep. I really want a previous high to be taken out, or a previous low to be taken out, you see. So these are like some of the things. So what the thing is, when all the rules are not intact, that is where you must now decide to use just 1%. If your account balance is very big, you can do 0.5%. All right. So yeah, the record, Muhammad Hassan, the record is on YouTube. So even after this class, you can always go to YouTube and see this. So I will be stopping here for today because this is already 11 a.m. We'll do this. And this also brings me to the good news we told you. Some of you met with the team yesterday and pleaded that after KCP, you want to be part of the mentorship. So we have decided, for those of you who are enrolling, we are taking away almost 25 to 30% out. So it's more like, instead of 300K, you're now paying just 200, and then instead of 400K, you're just paying just 300 only for KCP students. All right, and it's applicable for those who are paid this week. And so congrats anyway. All thanks to the management of Trade to Retire, because for us, we just feel like beyond the value in KCP, if there is the opportunity to learn more, go for it. All right. So the one-on-one is also having that discount. The AI algorithm class is having that discount. The VIP signals is not having that discount because that's like you making money from the signals every day. But anything trading, we have taken out 100,000 for you guys so that you can enjoy what it feels like to still be part of the family even after your KCP program. I believe you have been having an amazing session from day one till today. I don't think there's any company that does this, but please, like I told you guys yesterday, make use of this opportunity, enjoy it. All right. So for this week, after this week, every amount goes back to default. Sign up, get enrolled, because what you'll be learning in the advanced classes is crazy. That's where we'll be looking at volume footprints. That's where we'll be looking at a lot of intraday concepts. There are certain things that must happen with certain pairs. Like, for example, on gold, at certain times of the day, there is something it does. So if you know that it does either a buy or a sell around 1 to 2 p.m., all you just have to do is position yourself, take that trade. That is where timing is. I know tomorrow I'll talk about timing, but there are levels to information too. All right. So enjoy yourself, enjoy the rest of the week. Let's make money today. If there are new trades I see as a result of change in market structure, I will drop it on the Signal group. And so if you are not on the Signal group, make sure you've been registered. Send your details to the customer support. They would reply you. If they are not replying you, you can send me a message. And then for those of you who are enrolling for the mentorship, let's get started. Let me even know who are my students, so that we start interacting one-on-one, preparing for your main classes. Thank you so much, and God bless you.